But the kettlebell swing is a mysterious exercise which seemingly has no limiting factors and potentially no purpose whatsoever.
Here we go again, Dr. Mike. If you're over 40, 50, or 60 and want to get strong, fit, and lean without going to the gym, you have to download my ebook. It's called The Kettlebell Code, the second edition. You'll find it in the first link in the description. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe Stark here. Dr. Mike is at it again, trashing the kettlebell, saying it's not ideal for muscle growth. Granted, there's also a couple of times where he highlights that the kettlebell is actually an interesting implement. And please, Dr. Mike, if you come across this video, let's have a chat. You've been talking bad about the kettlebells for a long time. And I think you're also playing the algorithm because you know the kettlebell sphere. We are very hyper-reactive when somebody talks bad about it. I've seen people getting burned along the way as they try to disrespect the almighty kettlebell. But let's bring ideas to the table, and then maybe you can reveal some of my blind spots, and I can reveal some of your blind spots. I just did this with Roman Jiu-Jitsu. And now what I want to do with this video is react and give you my feedback to what Dr. Mike has said about the almighty, untouchable, impeccable kettlebell.
Kettlebells, they're great. When I think of kettlebells, I think of very diffuse concepts. CrossFit girl, abs and titties. Scott, you know what I'm talking about? Something to do with that.
This hyperfixation on sex, man, Dr. Mike, get out of here with this. This is so cringy. It's like a 16-year-old. But let's.
Joe Rogan faintly comes to mind, and something to do with MMA and athleticism.
This goes to show that he has a completely limited of understanding what the kettlebell really is. Let me give you my definition of what I think about when I hear the term kettlebells. I think about the over 40, 50, 60 crowd who has banged up joints, banged up bodies, and they're looking for something to heal their body. They're looking for strength. They're looking for mobility. They're looking for a tool to maybe cure their back pain or at least alleviate it to a certain extent. A square meter with one bell takes care of everything. You have your gym at your disposal. We can build muscle. We can get stronger. We can increase our fat burning potential because with this workout right here, I was able to burn over 1,000 calories when I took the kettlebell outdoor for a spin and I spent 80 minutes with it. I think about loaded yoga. I think about weighted locomotion. I think about intuitive training. I think about people who stepped foot into the gym and hated it and are still looking for an alternative to build strength and take care of everything. I think about a soldier who the only thing that he has at his disposal is a kettlebell, and he's out there in a compound and he has to train, and he knows with the kettlebell, I can take care of everything. And one of the most powerful things that the kettlebell really offers is strength endurance. It's like rowing. You're using a weight and you can use it in the strength endurance realm. And by the way, that realm is dark. It is intense. And people don't like to go there because it charges and challenges your body because you are trying to mix and match two physical qualities that are normally diametrically opposed to each other, and you want to wield them together. This is hardcore. This is intense. I think about the potential that the kettlebell really offers because it is the tide that lifts all boats of physical qualities all at once. Once you pick it up for a spin, especially if you know how to do it. I think about Valery Fedorenko, a legend in the kettlebell sports realm. I think about Sergey Rudnev. I think about Joe Daniels, a powerful kettlebell sport and hybrid athlete, the way I see it. I think about Steve Carter. I think about Pavel Tsatsouline. I think about all the heavyweights that I had on my podcast. I think about Denis Vasilev. I think about Alexander Khvostov. I think about Alain Langue. I think about Daniel Hutchinson. I think about the whole kettlebell sports sphere. And I think about the people who use the Russian way of using the ballistics and combining it with the Western traditions of kettlebell training, where we can combine strength and endurance at the same time. This is athleticism. And the kettlebell most definitely can grant you this. It is the king of GPP, of general physical preparedness, because it can take care of everything all at once, like I already mentioned. But of course, we have to acknowledge the limitations. The kettlebell is not the best thing at everything. It's the best generalist tool. But as soon as you want to step into the extremes, building maximum muscle, looking like a roided up bodybuilder, or going into the maximum fields of strength to do the 505 kilogram deadlift like Haftor, of course, the kettlebell is not your go-to tool, but it's the tool for a huge population, which shouldn't be discounted as easily as Dr. Mike is doing right now. But hey, that's what I'm here for.
Kettlebell is an excellent tool for training. But the kettlebell swing is a mysterious exercise which seemingly has no limiting factors and potentially no purpose whatsoever. When are you actually fatigued during a kettlebell swing?
Have you ever swung a 64, 80 kilogram kettlebell? The limiting factor is the pull of gravity on that thing, because these heavy weights have a firm and strong relationship with gravity. And if you can do 50 swings with a 64 kilogram kettlebell, let's make it lighter, a 48 kg kettlebell, one arm, 50 swings, here's your limiting factor. Your grip strength, your hip strength, your whole body is getting thrown through the ringers. The kettlebell wants to tear you apart and shred you apart, shred you into pieces. This is the limiting factor. But of course, Dr. Mike, if you're swinging baby weights like you're doing here, what do you expect? Nothing is going to happen if you pick up a weight that your body doesn't even register.
And what muscle is fatigued?
The muscles that are fatigued can be the forearm, the grip, it can be the lower back, it can be the glutes, it can be the hamstrings, but who cares which muscle fatigues? Because at the end of the day, your whole body is getting worked up. And you and I, we both know this type of movement will always, especially hinging, will always highlight the weakest link in the chain, which for many people is the lower back. So you can strengthen the lower back, the glutes, and the hamstrings and fuse it into one solid column of strength.
If you realize that the kettlebell swing is something you can just keep going with, but it's very tough on the cardio situation, then kettlebell swings are a wonderful part to include in a circuit for overall general cardiovascular fitness.
The kettlebell is a powerful strength endurance tool, but make no mistake, once you pick up a heavier bell, we follow the rules of progression. Heavier bell, using it for more reps or even lighter reps or less reps because you have to, because it forces you to stop earlier. If you can do 100 swings with a 24 kg, let's try the same thing with a 32 kg. Guess what? Here's what's going to happen. According to the law of periodization and adaptation, your body will adapt and fatigue will set in and you will have to put the weight down.
However, for resistance training, for growing the hamstrings or the glutes or the lower back, or for sport training, developing strength and power and speed, all of those things, something the kettlebell swing is neither biomechanically designed to do because most of the forces are horizontal, and in real sport, most of the limiting forces are vertical.
Let's revisit the law of periodization and progression and overload. Pick up a heavier bell. Pick up a 40 kg, 44 kg, 48 kg, and here's what's going to happen. Your body is going to adapt. You will get stronger. A very simple concept. If you're able to do 10 reps with a 40 kg kettlebell, and now you pick up a 64, and now you're only able to do 5 reps, this means you're weak. Something inside your body is too weak to handle these 10 reps. Now you spend time with the 64, and all of a sudden, you are getting stronger because now you can do 10 reps with a 64 kg kettlebell swing. Adaptation has happened. You have gotten stronger. Now use a heavier bell. And of course, I get it that it's not the perfect tool to build massive amounts of muscle. A machine is better suited if the sport of bodybuilding is your goal. Of course, you're not going to use a kettlebell swing, but you will build muscle because it's a weight. And if you manipulate it accordingly, your body is going to react. And once you get stronger, you will put on more muscle. And now you're making a major mistake with thinking that the swing is horizontal. This is, again, what people think if they don't, have no clue about kettlebells whatsoever. Ground reaction forces in the kettlebell swing are 80% vertical. And if you don't believe me, listen to my good friend Neil May from Australia, and this is what he found out.
I thought, because of my background and how I was taught, that the majority of the force was forward. So it was a massive eye-opener for me to see that that wasn't the case, that it was only a tiny proportion. So that was one of the things I wanted to look at. How much forward force is there?
And how much is there?
That's not much. For me, for example, compared to the vertical force, so if you compare vertical force with horizontal forward force, With a 68 kilo bell, 20% of the vertical force. With an 8 kilo bell, 16 kilo bell, somewhere around 10%.
If you are demonstrating a kettlebell swing, Dr. Mike, don't be like Jeff Nippert. Don't be like these science guys. This is what the biggest gripe is with the science lifting community. You guys talk about it. You guys think it's bad. And then when you demonstrate it, you don't know what you're talking about, because we can see from a mile away that your swing is the absolute worst. And that's the reason why you're picking up a baby weight. Because if you would pick up a heavy kettlebell, it would force you to do it properly, and it would force you to get stronger in areas which might benefit you at the end of the day.
Next on our list is the Turkish get-up. The Turkish get-up is better known as a parlor trick. Biomechanists agree that it's not exactly certain what the hell it is you're either testing or training in the Turkish get-up, but most would say it's probably the ability to keep your shoulder mobile enough to stay totally vertical.
What I hear often is that the Turkish get-up is great for getting up. When you look at what first responders say, and when you listen to what the actual recommendation is if you ever trip and fall to the ground and you're elderly, you got to do all other things and use a surface and call somebody and scream for help. Or maybe in some cases you have to stay on the floor because you have to check for injuries first, and then don't move. Don't make some kind of a choreography to stand up.
Do you guys know what tests leg strength a whole shitload better? The deep barbell squat. And do you know what tests your overhead pressing ability and strength and stability better? Any kind of barbell overhead press.
I wholeheartedly agree that the squat as well as the press, both of these exercises demolish the get up in any type of measurement and any type of benefit that you can get when you're actually taking time out of your busy schedule to move. Preparation is better than compensation. This means I'd rather have you do lots of squats, lots of presses, lots of swings, lots of snatches, lots of carries, instead of a get up, because I know these exercises will make you strong overall. Hence, if it should ever happen that you trip and fall, I hope that the exercises that I gave you, which have been able to grant you these strength benefits, that they're now able to help you get up from the floor.
Dr. Mike, you didn't do the kettlebell Turkish get up right, man. You're supposed to like extend your hips and have one on. Who gives a shit? It's make-believe nonsense that you do because you're not actually strong.
Now, to an extent, I agree as well. You don't have to do an exercise perfect to look at it, check the biomechanics and say, all right, this doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not even going to do it or learn the proper way. However, it just adds more credibility if you really spend some time with the exercise to then actually say, listen, I did it, I tried it, I even used some heavier weight. And even if I completely disagree with the notion that the Turkish get-up is that one exercise that grants you ultimate benefits that the basics cannot, I still say it's a fun exercise and a fun challenge, especially with a heavy weight. And it will be interesting to see Dr. Mike actually getting himself challenged with this particular exercise. So here's the next thing that you have to do. Clean and press that like and subscribe button. Share with a friend who's interested in kettlebells. And if you made it this far, download my free ebook in the first link in the description called the Kettlebell Code. The second edition, after 13,000 downloads, I've taken the time to rewrite it, and I think you're going to love it. If you want to find out what kettlebells really are, especially if you're over 40, 50, or 60, and you're looking for that one tool that can grant you these ultimate powerful benefits. Like I said, it's that one tool that lifts all the boats of physical qualities, and you're looking for a great mix, a great general approach. The kettlebells are kings of GPP. Then you want to download my ebook and get started right now. It's 100% free. You'll find it in the first link in the description.